Welcome to another 3 Wide Life. I'm Mike Garrity, and we have got an exciting show for you today. An exclusive one-on-one sit-down interview with NASCAR superstar and team owner Kyle Busch. We want to talk to him about everything from how he got started in racing to driver development and what it's like to own your own race team. So sit down, come on inside, and let's check out Kyle Busch and KBM exclusively on 3 Wide Life.
Well, I mean, even before Legends or even before I wanted to get started in racing, I was actually working on my brother's race cars. My dad raced limited late models for a long time in Vegas, and then when Kurt was getting old enough to drive, he sold that and got into what's called dwarf cars, similar to the Legends cars, so he could get 2 of them for the same as a late model, you know. So then he and Kurt started racing, and I was, quote unquote, the Kurt's crew chief. Helping work on the cars, welding bumpers together and side kicks and all that stuff.
Although Kyle was learning a good deal as Kurt's crew chief, he knew he wanted to give it a try as a driver.
I liked working on them. I thought it was fun, but I knew one day eventually I wanted to get behind the wheel. So when I was 12, we got into more of the Legends type stuff. My brother was running those. We kind of got out of the dwarfs into the Legends, and I started in just a couple test sessions and running around the racetrack, learning from my brother, trying to follow him and stuff. Obviously, I was quite slower than he was, but gave it my best. And then, not too long after that, I started racing. Probably 4 months after I just did a couple test sessions, because they wouldn't let me race until I was old enough. So they wanted me to be 13 to start racing. And once I got going and started racing, first couple races went really well. Some top 5s and whatnot, some top 10s. And then I remember it was July 28th, I'm thinking, that my brother was gone. He was doing the Southwest Tour then. And so he left, and I was there, my dad and I just racing on the weekend, and I ended up winning my first Legends feature. And so after the words in Victory Lane and everything, I said, I just want to thank my brother for not being here tonight so I could actually get a chance to win one of these things. So that was pretty fun. It was cool, but Legends cars were my start, man.
Kyle had quick success as a wheelman, but he was also learning some important lessons about car control that would help him tremendously as he climbed the motorsports ladder.
I think the biggest skill set that you take is the fundamentals of how the car drives. It's a really short wheelbase, it's a light car, and a lot of horsepower. So those 3 things allow you to really pitch the car around, and you're driving off the right rear a lot, and you're kind of loose. You don't want to be too loose though, because you still got to keep the forward drive in the car for a longer race. But I mean, even only running 25 laps, still, you know, you get tire heat into the tire and cause the car to slip around a little bit. It can make it for a handful.
After his Legends car success, Kyle and his family had to make a tough decision about what the next step would be, but more importantly, how to pay for it.
Well, our next level we thought was modifieds. My brother had one, but we had sold it when he went and moved on to Southwest Tour and trucks and all that, so we got rid of it. And then it was my turn. Now we're looking for a new car, and it's like, all right, what are we gonna do? Well, there was a buddy of ours who lived in Lake Havasu City who was racing the modifieds and was getting ready to sell his. So we're like, okay, we're gonna buy it. And we looked at how much he wanted for it, and we're like, holy cow. So my dad says, if you really wanna race these modifieds, you know, you have your savings account, we're gonna have to drain your savings account. And I'm like, I don't care. What's savings? I don't know. So we went to the bank, drained my savings account, and I pitched in half. My dad pitched in half, and here we have a modified, and then we had to go get a motor and stuff. So it all kind of worked.
Kyle's success came quicker than the series rules would allow. After lying about his age in order to run his modified, he would soon have to sit out until his age caught up with the rules.
One night I got into a car fight with a guy, and I won. Finished 3rd on the dirt. Well, he wasn't too happy with me afterwards, so came over, he wanted to fight. Well, when he looked in the window, he's like, oh my God, this guy's just a kid. He didn't even know who I was. So he threw a bigger hissy fit that I was so young that the people at the newspaper actually went in public records and pulled my birth certificate and found out I was 15 when you're supposed to be 16. So they booted me out right after that and told me to come back next year. It became a lot bigger story than just the local bull ring in Las Vegas. Actually, NASCAR corporate called and they were mad because it was a NASCAR sanctioned division. And so they suspended me for the rest of the year, which was what it was anyway. So I couldn't go to any other NASCAR sanctioned track. I could still run my Legends car, so that was fine. I still have my Legends car, was still running around in that, but wasn't able to get back into a full bodied stock car until May 2nd, when I was turning 16 officially.
Welcome back to our exclusive sit-down interview with Kyle Busch. We've heard all about how Kyle got started in racing and how he got the most out of the system with his young age. But how did Kyle get noticed enough to get that call that all racers hope for, a shot at the big leagues?
Well, what happened when my brother was racing trucks, I was racing the late models, so I was winning a lot of races and everything, and so my brother said, if you guys think I'm good, you ought to keep an eye on my younger brother. So actually there was a guy from Roush Racing that would fly out to the bull ring every Saturday night and watch me race and everything and see how things were going, and they liked what they saw. So then midway through the following summer, they called me and said, actually no, it was midway through that summer, they called me and said, hey, why don't you come do some truck races for us? The guys that we have running our truck aren't doing as good as we want them to be doing, so we're going to give you a shot. So I actually went through the gong show. I did 2 rounds of the gong show. I went to my first round at Toledo Speedway, and then my second round was at Chicagoland Speedway, the big 1.5 mile. So got my taste of a truck at a 1/2 mile, and then went to a 1.5 mile, and Greg Biffle was there to shake it down at the 1.5 mile in Chicagoland, and he was running around there wide open, running, I don't know, 32 20s or something like that. And then they said, okay, Kyle, it's your turn, you get in. And I'm like, wait a minute, like, you want me in it next? What if I wad this thing up? We only have one of them here. You know, what about all the rest of these guys? So they're like, nope, you're next, get in. And so I got in, went out there, and first couple laps, getting my feet wet, 32 40s and stuff pretty quick. And then I came in, I asked for a change. I said it was a little too loose. They tightened me up, went back out there, ran 31 teens, quicker than Biffle. So I was kind of like, wow, that's cool. And so they called Biffle and said, hey, do you want to come back? Kyle just beat your time. And he goes, no, I got a job.
Kyle made the most of his chance to test for Roush Racing and seemed to be on the way towards a full-time Truck Series ride for the Powerhouse team. But his age would soon get in the way again at the most inopportune time.
I got my opportunity there, ran some truck races for Roush. I think I ran, I don't know, 9th once, my first time out in Indy, and then was running really good at Chicago Cicero track, the flat mile, and should have won that one, but 12 to go, I wasn't scrubbing my tires, keeping fuel in a fuel cell, so it ran out of gas coming to the restart, so that kind of stunk, just in my second start there. And then got booted when NASCAR decided to change the age rule from 16 to 18 across all 3 national touring series as well as the regional touring series. So when that happened, I was fastest in practice at California and I got booted, wasn't allowed to race that weekend. Well, I didn't know what was in store for my future, because now this was November, I'm 16, so now I've got to go through the whole turning 18 thing and all that stuff. And when NASCAR made that rule, they said all their series except short track. So I couldn't even run Southwest Tour. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to go back and just run Southwest Tour. I thought that'd be a great stepping stone for me. I know the same team still had their cars going that Kurt was driving for and everything, but I had to go somewhere else. I had to go run ASA and run that for a year, just to be in a car somewhere running different racetracks all the time against high competition.
Kyle would make the most of this opportunity to step backwards into the ASA series and learn from some of the best short track veterans the sport had to offer.
The timing with the ASA thing was the year before they sold the series to that other guy who then went to the 1.5 miles and all that. So I just ran the short tracks. It was fun, and learned a heck of a lot running against all those guys like Mike Garvey and Joey Clanton, Gary St. Amant, all those guys that run up front in that series. And so, again, didn't have the greatest success, finished 4th, I think was my best finish a couple times, but learned a heck of a lot.
Welcome back to our exclusive one-on-one sit-down interview with NASCAR superstar Kyle Busch. You know, one of the things we like to ask at 3 Wide Life is, when does a driver really know that they've made it? When are they sure that they can make a career out of motorsports? We asked Kyle Busch that exact question.
I didn't know that I'd make it as a professional yet. Going through Legends, Modifieds, late models, ASA was such a heartbreak because I didn't win a race that year. So I was like, man, I don't know if I'm going to make it. I don't know if I'm going to be good enough. And then, you know, I got to my 18th birthday, and actually I got hired on by Hendrick Motorsports. They called me, and they were interested in me. So I went to Hendrick and ran some ARCA races and some nationwide races. Well, I won my first ARCA race. I won my second ARCA race. I finished 3rd my 3rd ARCA race, so I was running pretty well. And then the nationwide series, I finished 2nd my first one to Matt Kenseth at Charlotte. And then I finished 2nd in my 3rd start at Darlington to Brian Vickers, who actually I took over for the following season. So I didn't really know I'd made it until I won 2-3 races in nationwide. That's when I was kind of like, okay, I think I got it.
Kyle found the motivation to continue climbing the ladder in NASCAR from the constant challenge of trying to win every weekend.
Well, I figured you can always be a race car driver, but when are you truly, you know, a racer or a winner? You know, that's sort of when I felt like I was starting to make it. You know, winning late model races and stuff like that, it's like, yeah, I could do that my whole life, but I'm also going to have a 9-to-5. You know, it's not until you get to the big time and you win some races there, and then you're able to run competitive week in, week out, and be up front, that then it's like, okay, I've made it here. So now a lot of the other NASCAR things are going to start stepping in, which are the media interviews and the off-track stuff and the sponsor appearances and some of that stuff. So growing up, watching it all and learning it all and everything, you don't understand the whole thing that's outside of just sitting in a race car and driving around a racetrack.
Many driver development drivers are only given a few races to show their talent. For Kyle, it only took a few races. So did he ever have that hard talk about wrecking with powerhouse owners like Roush or Hendrick?
I actually did. I had that conversation with Rick Hendrick one time, and I think it was after my 4th or 5th race. I got into it with a guy, and we ended up destroying a race car, and he come to me and he says, you know, obviously we love you winning. That's great, and we love you racing our cars and stuff, and we know there's going to be wrecked cars here and there, but sometimes, you know, if it's a mistake you make because you're overdriving the car, we get it. That's fine. That's what we pay you for. You know, if it's when you're getting into an argument with a guy and you're rubbing back and forth and then you get taken out because of stupid stuff, you know, those are the wrecks that we don't want to see. So you kind of got that early on, and it was good, you know, for me to understand going out there and running hard and doing what I needed to do, sometimes overdriving the car and it steps out and you crash. You know, it doesn't make you feel any good about yourself, but your guys are always there. They stick behind you. They're like, it's all right, man, as long as you're okay, we can build another race car.
Kyle Busch definitely has a passion for motorsports, and especially getting to victory lane. But what events led up to him wanting to own his own race team? As you'll find out, it started with a passion for grassroots racing and wanting to race as much as humanly possible.
Essentially, KBM all started from the late model. I had a late model that myself and Richie Waters built back in 2007. I ran a couple times and we won a few races, and then I was like, okay, well, let's build a couple more. And then I had Alex come out and he drove for me for a year, and then he moved on. And so the late models are a blast to drive. They are my favorite car out of all time to drive around and to race. I love running them, and so anytime I get my chance to get behind the wheel, I'll take it. And it doesn't come very often. A lot of people don't put on weekday shows and things, but when they do, we make them successful.
With a passion to win and a desire to race as much as possible, Kyle would venture into different series of stock cars to see where and how he could win more races each year.
I was working on my rookie season in the Cup Series. I wanted to kind of run some truck races and just run more races, you know. Billy, being close friends, Richie Waters, being his crew chief, you know, we just kind of all put it together that, hey, I want to run some truck races. And they're like, nah, you're too young, kid. You don't know anything about trucks, you know. So they had Johnny Sauter in and a couple other guys, whatever. And I'm like, okay, well, can I run trucks now? And they're like, all right, we'll run you at Charlotte. So they give me a truck at Charlotte. I go out there first race and I win in it. So I was like, wow, this is fun. They were like, wow, this is cool, you know. So we just kept going. We ran a few seasons with Billy.
By this point, the whole garage knows that Kyle Busch can wheel a race car with the best in the nation, and he was winning multiple races a year in different series. But how did this love of getting to victory lane develop into a passion for owning his own team and competing at such a high level?
I don't know, we won probably 4 or 5 races a year at least for the 3 seasons, and then I moved on into getting the itch about, hey, you know, maybe I ought to run my own deal. Maybe I ought to, you know, create something nice. I wanted to build a building for toys and a showroom, and for the NASCAR fans when they come to the area to come through here and check out how I've gone through the years of racing and what all I've got. So when it started getting built and becoming to the scope it was, and it was like, we're gonna have to pay for this thing somehow. So why don't do you want to be a race team owner? And I'm like, well, I can be. I don't know how hard it is, but I'll hire some of the best to run it for me. And from there, it just kind of took off. You know, Rick Wren and I started talking quite a bit, and he was the main reason that I went with it, because if I couldn't get the best people to do it, I wasn't going to do it.
Things seem to look easier from the outside, but when you become involved, new challenges arise, which is exactly what Kyle Busch experienced as a new team owner.
From what I understood, the sport was just driving and, you know, kind of getting the opportunity, getting my shot and everything. It's a lot different being on the owner's side of it. There's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes. You have a company here of 54 people and we're short. You know, we have 2 race teams with a truck and a nationwide deal and 54 employees, and it's like, man, we need more almost. So you can only do so much sometimes. You kind of always want to see everything done right now, but you get there and you work as hard as you can just to do the best you can with what you got.
Anyone who finds a sponsor or has a lot of money can start a race team. But what does it take to get the best in the sport on board to take a race team and turn it into a winning organization?
Well, I think first and foremost, you know, with Wren and Eric, it was kind of, hey, I'm going to be the team owner, but I'm also going to drive it majority of the time. And I think that's kind of what they were interested in. They wanted to work with me. They knew I was the talent that could get the things to go fast, and we wouldn't have much of a learning curve to go through. So they worked really hard trying to get our trucks just ready to go to the racetrack for the first half of the year. And then we actually won our first race sooner than we figured we would. We won in April at Nashville Superspeedway with Dollar General on board. And then, you know, we just kept going from there. I think we won 8 races that year. So it was really good for us. You know, Brian Eichler was successful in our stuff. He ran well. And we've had Denny Hamlin drive our stuff. He's won before. Casey Kane's driven our stuff. He's won before. So I feel like, you know, we've got pretty good equipment that can go out there and make even some of the younger guys successful.
In motorsports, you definitely lose more races than you win. But when you're Kyle Busch and you're used to winning, how do you deal with the ups and downs of a new team?
Yeah, our learning curve's been big. You know, we've had, you know, a little bit of success, and then we've kind of had some rough patches too. So it's definitely been a learning year and a growing year on the nationwide side for sure. But our first year in trucks, we won the Owners' Championship. Our second year in trucks, we finished second in the Owners' Championship, so we felt successful at that. We felt like, okay, we got the truck thing down, it's going pretty good. Let's venture out a little bit. So I, along with a few people here at KBM, we worked really hard on scoping sponsors out and seeing what we could do, and I talked to the Monster folks and they were interested in everything, so it all kind of worked out perfectly. It was a little late. We didn't quite get an early enough start on building our stuff through the off season, and bringing Beam over, that was kind of a hold up too with his deal from Roush and all that. So it took us a little bit, but seemed like we had a strong run of finishes going throughout early spring. You know, from when Kurt won his race at Richmond in May, we had like 8 or 10 top 10s in a row. So it was really cool that we were able to rattle off those finishes like that, and it felt like we were actually gaining ground and getting better. And then we've just kind of had a string of bad luck lately. So we're working on changing that, hopefully, and getting back on track.
Now that Kyle Busch and his team are winning at every level of motorsports, what does the future hold for this organization and superstar driver?
Well, the future for us is, I think we're comfortable with where we're at right now. I'd like to see more truck teams or more nationwide teams. We've got the capability of running 4 teams out of this place, so we'd like to do that. That's my goal and aspirations, but later on down the road, say, I don't know, 10 years or so, when sponsorships are back to a premium, then, you know, maybe we'll see a cup deal out of here one day.
That's it for another 3 Wide Life. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you to everybody at KBM and Kyle Busch himself for letting us learn more about their organization. I hope you enjoy it, because I know we did. Until next week, make sure you're checking out our Facebook, our Twitter, and our website. We are constantly updating them with behind the scenes and cool content. And until your next race, make sure you keep living the 3 Wide Life.